Special counsel Jack Smith is demanding, after his 8 hours of testimony behind closed doors that's been hidden from the American people by the House MAGA, he's demanding that his testimony be released in full to the American people and that he be given a chance in public to give his testimony. That in a new letter written by his lawyers, Lanny Breuer and Peter Koski, to the head of the Oversight Committee, Jim Jordan. See, he's not going away. He's got his own issues, Jack Smith. He's got grand jury secrecy rules, and he's got other things that he's going to have to tiptoe through in terms of things that would prevent him from speaking about every piece of evidence, although many of the things that he's talked about are right there out in the open, even on the Department of Justice's own website. I mean, on the website even today, you can find Jack Smith introducing the indictment of all indictments against Donald Trump. Just to remind you, here's a clip.
Good evening. Today, an indictment was unsealed, charging Donald J. Trump with conspiring to defraud the United States, conspiring to disenfranchise voters, and conspiring and attempting to obstruct an official proceeding. The indictment was issued by a grand jury of citizens here in the District of Columbia, and it sets forth the crimes charged in detail. I encourage everyone to read it in full. The attack on our nation's capital on January 6, 2021, was an unprecedented assault on the seat of American democracy. As described in the indictment, it was fueled by lies. Lies by the defendant targeted at obstructing a bedrock function of the U.S. government, the nation's process of collecting, counting, and certifying the results of the presidential election. The men and women of law enforcement who defended the U.S. Capitol on January 6th are heroes. They are patriots, and they are the very best of us. They did not just defend a building or the people sheltering in it. They put their lives on the line to defend who we are as a country and as a people. They defended the very institutions and principles that define the United States. Since the attack on our Capitol, the Department of Justice has remained committed to ensuring accountability for those criminally responsible for what happened that day. This case is brought consistent with that commitment, and our investigation of other individuals continues. In this case, my office will seek a speedy trial so that our evidence can be tested in court and judged by a jury of citizens. In the meantime, I must emphasize that the indictment is only an allegation and that the defendant must be presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. I would like to thank the members of the Federal Bureau of Investigation who are working on this investigation with my office, as well as the many career prosecutors and law enforcement agents from around the country who have worked on previous January 6th investigations. These women and men are public servants of the very highest order, and it is a privilege to work alongside them.
Now, what do they want? What they don't want is selective leaks of things taken out of context over an 8-hour period of time. I mean, I'm a skilled examiner. I've done hundreds of depositions and trial testimony. But if you took any one paragraph out of 8 hours of of somebody's testimony, it could be distorted and taken out of context. Jack Smith has the opposite of something to hide. He has nothing to hide. You know, as Justice Brandeis once said, sunshine is the greatest of disinfectants. Let it out in the open. Let everybody see it. That's all Lanny Breuer and Peter Koski for Jack Smith is asking for. It's all that he's demanding. Now, nothing stops him from, as he has before, from Jack Smith going on the news media and giving interviews, coming on Legal AF. Let me repeat that. Coming on Legal AF to talk directly to the American people. In fact, that might be a very good idea. Speaking of good ideas, we're going to roll to 1 million subscribers. Check the link below, hit the button. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe for free. Become the 1 millionth subscriber this weekend. Okay. 8 hours of testimony. I mean, I gave you in one of my last reports a series of things that we know just from the opening that Jack Smith said, but that was just for the opening. We don't know the rest. We don't know everything that he said. This is what we think he said. We think he said our investigation developed proof beyond a reasonable doubt that President Trump engaged in a criminal scheme to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. Did you hear that? Beyond a reasonable doubt, proof that Donald Trump's a criminal. Our investigation also developed powerful evidence that showed that President Trump willfully retained highly classified documents after he left office. See, Donald Trump and his team, when they refer to Jack Smith, they like to call him the so-called prosecutor. Well, Jack Smith calls President Trump committed crimes beyond a reasonable doubt. He also said that the decision to bring charges against President Trump was mine, but with the basis for those charges resting entirely with President Trump and his actions, as alleged in the indictments returned by 2 separate grand juries. But that's only, his opening statement lasting 2, 3, 4 minutes? What about the other 7 hours and 56 minutes? That's what the American people demand. Now, it may be possible for somebody like Jamie Raskin, the ranking member on the House Judiciary Committee, to call a shadow hearing and get Jack Smith in there. But there's a procedural problem with all of that. But here's Jamie Raskin commenting about understanding the reason why Jim Jordan didn't want this to publicly air after having sat through 8 hours, and also basically telling President Trump, you better get ready, because one day this is coming out. They better be preparing President Trump. Let's play the clips.
Chairman Jordan made an excellent decision in not allowing Jack Smith to testify publicly, because had he done so, it would have been absolutely devastating to the president and all of the president's men involved in the insurrectionary activities of January the 6th. So, I can't get into any further particulars, but I'll just say that Jack Smith has just spent several hours schooling the Judiciary Committee on the professional responsibilities of a prosecutor and the ethical duties of a prosecutor, and he's a sensational and honorable public servant, and we are lucky to have him in the bar in the United States of America.
Could you describe at least what his message, Smith's message was generally to the committee?
Again, he's being answered. He's been asked, and he's answering questions. So he didn't come with any particular message, but I'll just say that he's answered every single question to the satisfaction of any reasonable-minded person in that room.
Any conclusion that he reached at the end of his investigation that he disclosed with the committee in the deposition?
Well, his report speaks for itself in terms of January the 6th and the indictments that were handed down, and the other report should be public. I mean, that's just absolutely aberrational that it's not public, just like his testimony should be public. Every other special counsel's been able to come here and testify. Robert Mueller's been able to testify. Robert Hur's been able to testify. All the special counsels and independent counsels have come in, and his second report on the retention of classified documents and what crimes may have been committed should also be released.
Now, the reality is that while this administration may not be willing to level with the American people about the criminality of their president, a soon-to-be installed Department of Justice in just a few years will be able to do things like release Volume 2 of the Jack Smith Special Counsel report about Mar-a-Lago. We've always had Volume 1, Part 1, about the election interference. I mean, that's a couple 100-page document, very similar to the clip I showed you of the announcement of the indictment. But the Volume 2 got buried by Pam Bondi along with the Epstein files, and Judge Cannon in Florida won't release it. And she's going to make a ruling in the next month or so about that issue, and she's not going to release it. It's going to have to go up on 11th Circuit appeal, and we'll see what will happen. But the next administration will release it. Just like the next administration is going to have to change all the names of all the buildings that Donald Trump, like any good dictator, is trying to do. We're not going to be able to tear down arcs and arches and other things, but we can pick letters off of buildings. It won't be the Trump Kennedy Center, for more than 2.5 years, 3 years. It won't be the, by January 2028, it won't be the Reagan or the Trump Reagan airport. That's coming next. Get ready, everybody. But we need Jack Smith at this moment in time to continue to fuel the Democratic resistance. I mean, right now, let me just put this, kind of weave this together. The House Democrats, led by Hakeem Jeffries, soon to be Speaker of the House and hopefully in the midterms, is doing a remarkable job of keeping the Republicans back on their heels. They are winning from a losing hand position, exploiting the fact there's only a 2 or 3 seat gap between their two positions in the House majority and minority, and not giving them any quarter, not giving the Republicans any quarter, and telling them straight out, there is nowhere for you to hide. You either deal with us or you don't deal with us. And now they're going to embarrass them and exploit them, and because of the suffering of the American people over the healthcare bill and the rest. But the Democrats have gotten their groove back, gotten their mojo back. And I think Jack Smith plays an important piece in that, because he is sort of a time-traveling historian about what happened in January of 2020. The attack and the assault on the Capitol, the attempts by a president, feeble attempts by a president to withhold classified top secret information that he should have returned to the National Archives on the way out, and then went through a whole cover-up. Donald Trump's whole life's about crime and cover-up, crime and cover-up. We see it all the time. We see it with the E. Jean Carroll sex assault civil judgment. We see it in the way he's handled the Epstein cover-up and the cover-up of the cover-up. We see it here in how he's been handling the ordering his Department of Justice not to release the files on Mar-a-Lago or the final report on Mar-a-Lago. And this is something that encourages the Democrats and should encourage them. And Jack Smith's going to play an important role. He was silent. He was the strong and silent type during his time as special counsel. We used to joke on Midas Touch that we used to call him Subway Jack, not because he took the subway, because he always had a Subway sandwich under his arm. It was just a thermos, a hard hat, a Subway sandwich, dark suit, going to work, and Jack, the press corps would yell out, keep on walking. But now he wants to talk, needs to talk, and we're there for it. We're going to find out, and we're going to put enough pressure through our Legal AF community to get that transcript. And we appreciate all of you being here. Come down to the notes below, hit the link, free subscribe, become the 1 millionth subscriber this weekend for the Legal AF YouTube channel. Bigger we are, more robust we are, we're ready for 2026, the most pivotal year in our history. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popak. I'm Michael Popak, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popak Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popak Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popak Firm today at 1-877-POPAK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopakfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popak Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.
This week, President Trump attempted to address his sinking approval ratings on the economy. For analysis on that and more, we turn now to Brooks and Capehart. That's New York Times columnist David Brooks and Jonathan Capehart of MS Now. Good evening, gentlemen.
Jack?
So President Trump is taking on affordability after initially saying it was a hoax perpetrated by Democrats. He addressed drug prices today. He's taking that message on the road to battleground North Carolina. And of course, he delivered that speech to the nation on Wednesday night. And Jonathan, this speech comes at a moment when the president's approval ratings on the economy are soft. If the goal was to reset the political narrative heading into 2026, is this the way to do it?
No, no, it's not. He literally screamed at the American people for 18 minutes, almost 20 minutes. And I wondered, was by screaming, is he trying to convince the American people that what he's saying is true, or is he trying to convince himself? There are a raft of polls that we've talked about on many Fridays that show that the American people think the country is going in one direction, while the President of the United States insists that everything is great and will be greater still if you bought fewer pencils and fewer dolls for your children. So I don't think he will succeed in convincing the American people that his policies are the way to go to make their lives better, no matter how many speeches he gives, no matter how much barnstorming he does. Because when he does these things, invariably, if the topic is affordability, if that's the prescribed topic, he meanders into other areas that completely muddy his message.
Well, David, what would move skeptical voters?
Lower prices. I ran into a CEO who said, when a customer complains to me and I take it to my team and they say, no, the customers are wrong, that's just an anecdote, we have data. The CEO said, I always believe the anecdote, because you can't argue people out of their experience. And you go to the grocery store, you think you bought nothing, it's $140. Like, that's real. That everybody feels that. And so rhetoric can only do so much. People were struck by the anger. Like Peggy Noonan wrote in the Wall Street Journal, it felt like he was angry at his words. And I don't think he's panicked. Some people think he senses decline and panic. If you look at his overall approval rating, it's at 42 right now, which is like normal territory for him. I just think he's getting a lot more bellicose with age or with something. With stress. He's just a level of bellicosity at everybody and everything, including us, the American people.
Well, let's talk more about that, because Republicans spent years telling voters to trust their eyes when it came to former President Biden's age and mental acuity. Are Democrats now justified in applying that same standard to President Trump? You referred to his bellicosity. There is certainly this growing disinhibition. You look at the Truth Social post after Rob Reiner passed away. You look at the way that he verbally abuses some women reporters. How do you see it?
I have said many times at